Hello everybody, this is Dave here, and here's my long-awaited track laying video. And just this background picture that I'm starting off with is just a picture of a train accident I found on the Boston Public Library's Flickr page, and I don't remember the year it said there. I do remember that it did mention that there were no fatalities in this crash, so it looks like just a derailment, but it's kind of an interesting picture, and kind of see some neat details on that large steam locomotive there. And let's talk about track laying. So the first thing you're going to need is your track plan. And I have this, actually had my laptop open on a little table next to my train table. And I'm checking things as I'm going along, what sections are which, kind of counted out my sections, and trying to keep track of everything. And actually, to keep things organized, when I started, I laid it all out in the packages on the table, and you can see I already had started laying some track when I took this picture. And before I get too far, let's talk a little bit about some of the tools I had. I had, most importantly and simply, a bunch of push pins. As I laid the track, I wanted to keep track of the track, but keep things in place. I just used some push pins into the foam to keep things in place here. Next thing you'll notice here is I have some needle nose pliers and snippers, and the reason I needed both of those is those rail joiners come on a strip, as you can see there. So I use the nippers to clip them off, and also the ends of those are very sharp when you cut them. So what I ended up doing is pushing them on with needle nose pliers. Now, I will warn you, I tried pushing them on with my fingers, and I have thick skin, and I cut right through it. So if you're doing this with a younger person or someone or you're a younger person, or really an adult, use the needle nose pliers and be careful, because the ends of those little metal clips there when you do it are pretty sharp. Next thing here, I started laying out the track in sections. I did the outside oval first, and when I started laying a straight section, I actually would lay it out, and you can see in this picture I'm looking down to make sure there's no kinks, no little zigzags in that track, to keep it pretty much as straight as possible. And as I'm doing that, I'm actually putting in push pins after I'm satisfied with what I have. And you see here just a push pin I've thrown in here. Also, some little kinks that I ran into is something such as right here. You'll see this very large gap on that 30-degree crossing. It should fit perfectly snug. There shouldn't be any real amount of play there, at least in the track plan. But this 2.5-inch section of track was just a little bit longer than it needed to be. So I ended up taking this piece of track in the center here, shortening it, and putting it together until I had a little bit of a gap in that 30-degree crossing, but not as big as the gap that you see right there. Now the next thing too, and you can see it in this picture, is I have the area here on the far left that's actually going to come up in elevation and go across at that higher elevation I'm planning in my track. The problem here is I wanted to lay it out, and I actually traced it out with some magic marker before I went any further with that. And you'll see how I traced things with magic marker a little bit later, but I just kind of have it mocked up, even though it's not gaining any elevation here. I just have it laid out on the track there, and obviously without the push pins right away. And I'll talk about this piece of styrofoam back here in a moment. Over here, and in the other picture, I'm actually put some of the buildings that I already had down on the table to kind of figure out where I'm going to put scenery and how I'm going to get the track to go there. So handy to have some buildings and structures ready to go before you do this, I think, especially in a small layout where things are kind of tight. The other thing too is I bought that styrofoam there is the Woodland Scenics Subterranean system, and what I was actually going to do this the old way, cutting out cardboard and just laying out things and making my own system there. And I needed some cardboard, needed some foam core board, and just decided it's just easier for me to go out and buy these inclines. I knew it was a 4% grade, and went out and bought 4% grade styrofoam and 1-inch risers to bring it up to 2 inches. And I laid out everything on my track with magic marker, and I'll talk a little bit more about that subterranean system there, but I really wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to have any interference. And that little metal piece there is a special gauge, National Model Railroading Association gauge for track clearance, and that's just making sure my track has plenty of clearance against that that area there on that elevation. Now coming over here, you can see actually what I did with my magic marker to lay out that track, and these dots that go through here are the center lines of the track. So you see the dots kind of going through there, and the outline of the track just traced out. Real easy going once you get that in there. Then I came in with some pins, as you can see, and pinned down my subterranean system. And there's everything pinned down with some more hat pins and kind of a mock-up here of that elevation that I'm going to do after I had with some 2-inch foam. And then to glue down, or just tack down my subterranean system, I just used a hot glue gun. And that worked out pretty good. I just hot glued that whole thing down. Then I came in and started laying down my road bed, and here's where those tacks came in again. I'd lay out a section of road bed, half of it, and you can see how those dots line up with the center line of the road bed, because cork road bed splits in two, so you got to split it in two and go down, and tacked it down. And then I used hot glue to hold my road bed down. I didn't want to nail it down, didn't want to use liquid nails, so I used hot glue. And I just put on down my road bed. And here's my shameful thing. I'm terrible at doing turnouts with road bed. I just never could get it right, never could do good. I always ended up with these little gaps. I have a way to cheat. Just some quick patching plaster compound, lightweight stuff you use for patching a hole in your wall. Little hole, nail hole or something. That's exactly what I put down there. Come in, spread it out with a 1-inch putty knife, and I came back with some 180 grit sandpaper before I painted this, and just sanded it down. And here you go, see some of me building some of the scenery before I put my track back down, hopefully permanently. I just use the paper towel / newspaper approach. Just piled up some newspapers to form a hill. Wet down a paper towel. Kind of see how things are going to look. And then I plastered that. And here's what I did for plaster. I took some of my lightweight plaster, mixed it up soupy, and I would dip the paper towel in it, pull it out, and just drape it over what I was doing and tack it around. And in here, I don't really care if I get a little bit of plaster here, there, and everywhere, simply because nothing's going to be perfectly flat in the world anyways, so I don't care if there's a little lump here and there. That being said, I learned a valuable lesson, a very valuable lesson, when I put the road bed back down. And you can see here on the back side here, a couple crinkles in the paper towel where it went over this scenery here. I put the road bed down, you could really see a dip, and then when I put the track down, you can see an even bigger dip. And I'll show you what I did to fix that in my next video, where I have actually painted this tan, put my track down permanently, and are building really the upper section of the layout here before I do any other real scenery work. So that's what's coming up, but that's my basic track laying video for you. I know you guys are going to have some questions. Ask them. I thought I took a lot more pictures, but apparently I didn't. And I do want to help you guys out. So if you have any questions on the track laying, just let me know in the comments, and I'll try to help you out. Alright, everybody. Thanks, and have a great day.